You'd probably think I was exaggerating.
Oh, yeah. I mean, most people just think it's a mild annoyance, you know?
Right. But today, we're really looking at the hidden biological cost of bad digital workflows. We're looking at a landscape where your administrative busy work isn't just, well, annoying. It is literally acting as a biological threat to you.
Yeah, it's spiking your cortisol, triggering that fight or flight response, and just quietly pushing you toward burnout. It's essentially this silent, tech-induced burnout engine.
Wow, burnout engine.
Exactly, and we rarely notice it until the engine is just completely flooded.
Well, welcome to today's deep dive. If you're listening to this, you're likely that ever-curious learner who's always trying to optimize how you work and how you live. Our mission today is twofold.
Right, two big goals today.
First, we're going to break down how to master the ultimate digital workspace by connecting the dots between some incredibly advanced automation tools. And second, and I think this is the real core of our discussion, we're exploring how to use the time and energy you save from those tools to master your own biological software.
Meaning your mental fitness.
Yes, your mental fitness.
Because, building a lightning-fast digital system is completely pointless if you don't use that newly acquired time to protect the actual human being operating the system.
Spot on. We've got a fantastic stack of sources on the desk today to help us unpack all of this. We're pulling from technical guides deep within the Zapier community, feature update logs from Notion and Workflowy, a really deep database breakdown by YouTube creator Dimitri Panici, and a comprehensive research article looking at the psychology and mental health of modern entrepreneurs.
It's just a brilliant collision of the highly technical and the deeply human.
It really is. So I want you, the listener, to imagine a world where your administrative busy work essentially does itself in a blink of an eye.
Sounds like a dream, right?
Totally. No more manually typing out invoices, no more tab switching fatigue, just instant action. But, to get there, we need to look at how these digital systems actually talk to each other. Historically, automations were incredibly sluggish.
Oh, they were terribly slow. For a long time, if you used an integration tool like Zapier on a standard plan, it used a method called polling to check for new data.
Okay, let's break down the mechanics of that. What is polling actually doing behind the scenes?
Think of polling as your automation software constantly asking your database a repetitive question. Every 15 minutes, Zapier knocks on the door of your Notion workspace and asks, "Hey, did anyone submit a new form? No. Okay, well, I'll come back in 15 minutes.
Wait, so if I click a button on my screen right now to trigger a client onboarding sequence, I might be sitting there staring at my monitor for up to 14 minutes and 59 seconds?
Yep, just waiting for the automation to actually catch the signal and execute that.
That is agonizing. In a modern workflow, a 15-minute delay completely shatters your momentum.
Precisely. But Notion recently introduced a feature called webhooks, which fundamentally changes this entire architecture.
Okay, how so?
Well, the webhook completely eliminates the need for polls. Instead of Zapier knocking on the door every 15 minutes, the door essentially has a digital tripwire.
Oh, I like that. A tripwire.
Yeah. The exact millisecond an action occurs in Notion like you checking a box or pressing a button. Notion instantly fires that data out to your other apps. It's instantaneous.
Okay, so to visualize this, the old polling method is like waiting at a bus stop with no published schedule. You're just standing in the rain hoping the bus arrives soon.
That's exactly it.
But this new webhook feature, that's like pressing a button on your phone, and a private taxi instantly materializes right on the curb in front of you.
That is a great way to think about it. And Dimitri Panici actually illustrates exactly how powerful this instant taxi service is for his content agency.
Right, in his YouTube breakdown.
Yes. In his breakdown, he shows a use case where he finishes a client meeting, opens his Notion dashboard, and simply presses one button labeled Add Content to Calendar.
Okay, so a taxi arrives instantly.
Yeah.
What does a taxi actually carry? Like, what happens next?
It initiates this massive operational cascade. That single button press grabs all the raw client notes and pushes them instantly to an automation platform called Make.com.
Make.com.
Yeah, which acts like a digital assembly line. It catches the Notion data and feeds it directly into ChatGPT's brain to auto-generate video script ideas and optimize titles.
Oh, wow.
And then it creates a full sequence of content deliverables, automatically spacing their due dates 5 days apart so his team's workflow never overlaps.
That's brilliant.
Right. And finally, it assigns all the specific subtasks to his editors and writers.
In one single click.
Okay.
That is undeniably efficient. And he demonstrated a similar flow for his accounting, right?
He did.
He clicks Send Invoice on a client page, and instantly a $200 invoice is generated in Stripe or PayPal.
Yes, instantly And the reverse is also true, which is so cool. If he realizes he made a typo on that invoice, he doesn't have to, log into Stripe, hunt down the client profile, and manually delete it.
Goodness.
Right. He just presses Void Invoice in Notion. The webhook instantly reaches out to Stripe, nullifies the invoice ID, breaks the payment URL so the client can't accidentally pay it, and pings a specific Slack channel to alert his accounting team that the invoice was canceled.
That is highly satisfying. I mean, it's not exactly mind-blowing if you're already used to basic automations, but the speed, the absolute lack of friction is the real game changer here.
Absolutely.
But, this raises a major question for me. If Notion is this powerful now, with instant webhooks and its own internal automations, why do we need to leave its ecosystem at all?
It's a fair question.
Doesn't this make external tools like Zapier kind of obsolete? Why not just do everything inside Notion?
It's tempting to think that, it really is. But no single software platform is a utopia. Software platforms are essentially walled gardens.
Walled gardens?
Yeah, they are meticulously designed to be great at what they do internally, but they purposefully don't always speak the same language as the other tools you rely on. So to build an ultimate frictionless system, you still need middleware.
Meaning tools that act as universal translators to bridge the gaps between those walled gardens.
Exactly.
Okay, give me a concrete example of a gap. What is something Notion natively struggles to do that requires a translator?
One major persisting limitation involves how standard integrations handle what Notion calls relation properties.
Relation properties, okay.
A relation property is when you link two completely separate databases together to create a relational record.
Like connecting two spreadsheets.
Sort of, yeah. Let's say you have a public form where new clients submit their name and their country of residence. You have an incoming submissions database, and you also have a master countries database that holds all your tax rules for different regions.
Got it.
You want the new submission to automatically link itself to the specific country profile in your master database.
Right, so if someone types in Japan, it doesn't just display the text Japan. It actually acts as a hyperlink bridge to my entire master file on Japanese tax codes.
Exactly. But Zapier's standard out-of-the-box Notion integration cannot natively update that relation property. It hits a wall and just gets stuck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it can create text, but it doesn't know how to build that hyperlink bridge. So a Notion expert named William Nutt developed a really elegant workaround to force the connection.
Okay, pause for a second. If you're listening to this on your commute right now and you aren't a software engineer, do not panic.
Yes, please don't panic.
Because the sources get pretty deep into the weeds here, mentioning JavaScript snippets and making patch request APIs. I want to push back on this a bit.
Okay, go for it.
If the goal is reducing my stress, doesn't forcing me to write custom code completely defeat the purpose? My cortisol is spiking just thinking about it.
That is a completely valid reaction. I mean, the friction of learning to code is immense. But the genius of this specific workaround is that absolutely no coding knowledge is required from the user.
Wait, really? None?
None at all. It is purely a copy-paste solution. William Nutt provides the exact block of text. You just add a step in Zapier called Code by Zapier and paste it in.
But how does the code actually know what to do if I'm not programming it from my specific workspace?
Because you just feed it 4 simple pieces of information, which Zapier automatically pulls from your previous steps. You're basically filling out a digital form.
Okay, what are the 4 pieces?
You give it the ID of the new page that was just created, the name of the property you want to update, the ID of the master page you want to link it to, and a secure password called an internal integration token.
Okay, let me try an analogy here to demystify this. Think of the API, the back end of Notion, as a bouncer standing outside a VIP club.
I like where this is going.
So the token is your VIP pass. You hand the bouncer the pass, you point to the newly arrived client, and you say, take this person and link them to that specific VIP table over there. You don't need to know how the bouncer walks to the table. You just hand over the pass and the instructions.
That is exactly how a pass.ch request functions. The JavaScript is just the vehicle handing those 4 instructions to the bouncer. It seamlessly patches the gap that the native integration couldn't handle, securely linking the databases together.
And once you understand that you can bridge those gaps, I mean, your whole digital ecosystem just opens up. The source has highlighted how you can use these tools to connect entirely different logic-based apps.
Oh, absolutely.
Like taking rapid, unstructured thoughts in an app like Collected Notes and instantly pushing them into structured nested bullets in workflow.
And, we really shouldn't overlook the power of native embeds either.
What do you mean by embeds?
Well, you don't always need an active automation like Zapier to keep your tools connected. Notion utilizes a background service called iFramely, which natively supports embedding live, interactive content from over 1,900 different domains.
1,900, that's a massive ecosystem.
It is huge. You can paste the link to a Miro whiteboard, a Loom video, a Google Drive spreadsheet, or even a Zoom meeting, and you can actually view and interact with that content directly inside Notion.
Without leaving Notion.
Right. And Workflowy does something very similar with collaborative data. When someone shares a list with you, you can embed it into your own workspace. It gets this special blue aura around it to signify its external data.
The blue aura, I saw that in the update logs.
Yeah, and it updates in near real time as your collaborators make changes, and it becomes instantly searchable within your own personal system.
Which solves the context switching problem. I mean, if you are constantly minimizing windows, searching through your downloads folder, and logging into different portals just to find one piece of information, you are draining your cognitive battery. Bringing it all into one embedded dashboard preserves that energy.
Exactly. It's all about reducing cognitive load.
So we've built this incredibly powerful, lightning-fast digital engine. It uses webhooks to operate in milliseconds. It uses APIs to bridge the gaps. But, here is the trap.
Human element.
Yes. Human beings are not designed to operate in milliseconds. When our technology moves this fast, we subconsciously try to keep pace with it. And that brings us to the crucial second half of our mission today. We just spent all this time perfectly optimizing our databases. Why?
We do it because delegating administrative tasks to AI or automation isn't just a fun weekend tech project. It is a biological necessity. It's a leadership imperative.
Right.
We build these frictionless digital systems to protect our most valuable, unupgradable hardware, which is our minds.
Because unlike your laptop, you can't just buy more RAM for your prefrontal cortex.
You really can't. And when we look at the research, the failure to protect that biological hardware is creating a global crisis, particularly for business owners and independent creators.
Yeah, the statistics in the research article were pretty jarring.
They were. The article highlighted that there are over 580 million active entrepreneurs in the world right now, which is about 8% of the global population. And a staggering 49% of them struggle with clinical mental health issues.
49%. Almost half. Wait, let me challenge that for a second.
Sure.
Isn't the whole appeal of entrepreneurship supposed to be freedom? I mean, you control your own schedule. You don't have a micromanager breathing down your neck. Why is the mental health crisis significantly worse for them? 49%. Compared to, say, the 32% of the general population.
Because when you are the CEO, the HR department, the janitor, and the lead accountant, your brain's engine is constantly revving. In a corporate environment, you have infrastructure. As an entrepreneur, you are the infrastructure. When you try to manage everything yourself, like the kind of manual data entry and scheduling we were just automating, your body perceives that endless barrage of tasks as a constant threat. It locks you into a state of chronic stress.
Which fundamentally alters your body chemistry. You aren't just feeling overwhelmed emotionally, your adrenal glands are flooding your system with cortisol.
Exactly.
And if we look at the clinical data mentioned in the research, chronic cortisol exposure is a direct pipeline to severe physical degradation, contributing heavily to hypertension and cardiovascular diseases.
It is a literal physical breakdown caused by administrative overload. This is why the concept of mental fitness is so vital.
Mental fitness.
Yeah. We all understand physical fitness going to the gym to strengthen your muscles and cardiovascular system. But mental fitness is the active daily training of your neurological resilience and focus.
I think we have a real cultural blind spot here, too. We celebrate the hustle. We think it's a badge of honor to be up at 2 a.m. doing our own bookkeeping and manually sending out invoices. But imagine a high-performance engine running at maximum RPMs with the governor removed. Eventually, it throws a rod and destroys itself.
That's a perfect parallel. The research points out that you cannot expect to perform at an elite level if you are doing all the grunt work yourself. You need a team. Think of the LeBron James analogy.
Right, LeBron has trainers, nutritionists, coaches.
Exactly. He doesn't do it alone. For an independent worker, those Zapier and Notion automations we talked about are your team. They are the infrastructure you build so you can step back and actually play the game you set out to play.
So basically, we need to treat our brain exactly like that Notion database we just built. If we don't automate the repetitive junk, our brain brain server gets overloaded and the whole system crashes.
That's beautifully said, yes.
Okay, let's get highly practical. Let's say I take the advice from segment 1. I set up my webhooks, I build my API patches, and I successfully clear out 10 hours of administrative busy work for my week. My digital system is humming.
Fantastic.
What exactly should I be filling that newly freed up time with to actually build this mental resilience?
One of the most actionable concepts presented in the psychology research is something called PQ reps.
Positive intelligence quotient.
Yes, PQ reps. They are a breakthrough process designed to systematically boost what researchers call your self-command muscle. And the mechanism behind how they work is fascinating. These are essentially 10-second mental exercises that you can do anywhere, with your eyes open or closed.
Wait, 10 seconds? Come on, I can't even load a heavy web page in 10 seconds. How does a 10-second pause fundamentally change my brain chemistry?
It sounds too simple, right? But it comes down to blood flow and neural pathways. The goal of a PQ rep is to shift your intense focus onto a specific physical, tactile sensation, like the weight of your feet pressing against the floorboards, or the exact temperature of the air passing through your nostrils as you breathe. When you force your brain to process the hyper-specific sensory data, you physically interrupt the neural loop of anxiety. Neurologically, it reroutes blood flow away from the saboteur region of the brain.
The saboteur being the amygdala, right? That primitive fear center that's screaming at you about a missed deadline.
Exactly. It quiets the amygdala and actively engages the sage region of the brain, the prefrontal cortex.
And the sage region handles the higher level stuff.
Yeah, this is the area responsible for high-level empathy, rational problem-solving, emotional intelligence, and innovation. Doing these quick 10-second sensory interruptions throughout the day physically trains your brain to default to the prefrontal cortex rather than the amygdala when faced with a stressor.
Which ties directly into the concept of neuroplasticity. The idea that our brains aren't fixed like concrete. We can actually rewire the structural pathways of our minds to be stronger and more resilient, regardless of our age.
And this is where physical fitness loops back in to support mental fitness. Actual cardiovascular exercise improves the oxygen flow to that prefrontal cortex, builds physical stamina, and actively metabolizes and flushes out those dangerous cortisol levels we talked about. They are part of the exact same system.
If we look at the real-world applications of the sources, there are some incredible examples of people putting this holistic approach into practice. Take Jeff Weiner, the former CEO of LinkedIn.
Great example.
He literally blocks out massive chunks of time on his calendar labeled nothing. He treats unstructured reflection and stillness as a non-negotiable.
Because stillness is where the prefrontal cortex does its best. Or look at the deep fried fit block that's in the stack.
Oh, I love that.
It's a fantastic, real-world example of building a community around the rejection of extremes. You don't have to choose between burning out or living like a monk. You can have green juice and fried chicken. Mental fitness is about finding a sustainable biological rhythm.
I was really struck by the story of Sarah, too, the fitness entrepreneur mentioned in the research. Her first studio went completely bankrupt. And in our modern hustle culture, a public bankruptcy is an immense source of shame. Your amygdala, your saboteur, tells you that you are a failure and the story is over.
It's devastating.
But through practicing mental fitness, she was able to stay in that sage mindset. She objectively analyzed the failure, used it as a stepping stone to learn, and eventually grew a wildly successful second business.
She succeeded because she fundamentally understood that vulnerability is not a weakness. In an information-heavy world, trying to survive in isolation is a guaranteed path to failure. Maintaining a supportive network, asking for help, or utilizing dedicated mental health platforms like the Mental Fit program highlighted in the research is actually the ultimate competitive edge.
So let me pause and ask you, the listener, right now, what stands out to you here? Is it the realization that a simple 10-second focus on your breathing can physically reroute the blood flow in your brain and stop a panic response? Or is it the harsh reality that, despite knowing this, we so rarely give ourselves the permission to actually take those 10 seconds?
It's usually the latter, honestly. We've been conditioned to feel guilty for pausing. We feel like if we aren't moving at the speed of a webhook, we're falling behind.
Which is the exact mindset we need to break. We've covered a tremendous amount of ground today. We started by looking at the absolute cutting edge of digital productivity. We broke down how Notion webhooks completely eliminate the waiting game of polling, providing instantaneous action.
Instant taxis.
Instant taxis. Yeah. We looked at how William Nutt's clever Zapier workaround uses use a simple API token to act as a VIP bouncer, patching the gaps in your databases without you needing to write a single line of code.
And crucially, we transitioned from optimizing the machine to optimizing the human. We explored the biological imperative of reducing cortisol, the alarming mental health statistics among independent workers, and how practicing 10-second PQ reps can physically strengthen your prefrontal cortex.
Because optimizing your digital workspace is truly only half the battle.
But before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final, slightly uncomfortable thought to chew on.
Let's hear it.
If we connect everything we've discussed today to a concept known as Parkinson's Law, the idea that work will inevitably expand to fill the time allotted for its completion, we are left with a massive dilemma.
Oh, this is a big one. We spend hours building these incredible frictionless digital automations specifically to save ourselves time. But if you use Zapier and Notion to successfully save 10 hours of administrative busywork this week, well, what are you actually going to do with those 10 hours? Will you just subconsciously allow new, stressful work to expand and fill that void? Or will you actively, fiercely protect that newly created space to finally schedule the stillness, the reflection, and the mental fitness your biological engine desperately needs to survive?
That is the ultimate test of true productivity.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We encourage you to try two very specific things this afternoon. First, build just one small automation to save yourself a few clicks. And second, do just one 10-second PQ rep to ground your nervous system. Just 10 seconds. Because if we don't fix the biological part, we're just going to end up with a perfectly organized digital workspace that's quietly driving a silent burnout engine. We'll catch you next time.